share this evening is the Ilunishmas, Abacha, Dov Berabin, Rav David Sassu from Edmonton comes on. He lost a child. He's twin boys. He's playing ball with them, and one of them just had an aneurysm, and he was nifta.
When was this?
4 years ago. 4 years ago. He was 11 years old. You should never know from it, but horrible. It was in the Shama Shev and Leah, and because of the Torah. It's a rain in the Shama anyway, but you know what? A rain in the Shama, Afal P came with the Torah. The Shama. Dov Ber Ben Dov is an identical twin, named after my father, Moshe Yehuda. Identical. You know from camp?
Yeah, I know now.
You know Moshe Yehuda, yeah. He had my uncle, my nephew. My sister had twin boys, had twin Einklach. It's one of them named her father. Her father and my father are the same father. It's like Yevamis.
Whoa.
You have the chart?
Can we wait till we get to Yomi?
You have the book, please. Please, I need the book.
Second, he needs the book.
Wait a second. This is the guy that comes on the shear?
Yeah,
I remember when this happened. It was his son?
The guy who comes on the shear from Edmonton, it's his son.
Oh.
That's my nephew. This was my great nephew who was Nifta. That one that comes on is my nephew. He married my niece.
I remember the day it happened.
Yeah. Leilena, it was awful. Okay. Anyway, so sad day in the Shama Shav and Leah. Okay, we're up to Chav Tes Lamed Beis. Chav Tes Lamed Beis. We're in the sugya of preparing to go and understand Erev Tchumim. Now, before we get to any Tchumim 2000, from which part of the city, the walls, we're just discussing the food, which is, some certain people like to discuss food, like rewind is like so. We're discussing the food that what's considered. You need the rule of thumb. You need oichel for shtei sudas. You need oichel for shtei sudas. So it says we're up. I'm going to review them. Shmuel, about 5 lines up. Kol shu lift on anything that enhances the bread. In other words, it's not eaten alone; it's eaten with the bread. Kedei lechol boy, the amount to eat with bread. And kol she'enu lift on, and anything is not to enhance the bread, kedei lechol imenu, from it. So that would be a larger amount. In other words, if it's to enhance the bread, obviously bread and that it's much less. But if it's without bread, then it's going to be more. Basachai, Rashba says it's salted. It's salted. It'd be very hard to just eat raw meat, but salted meat, well, yeah, beef jerky, but I guess something like that. Basachai, could they lechol himenu? To go ahead and eat from it. In other words, you don't eat that with bread. You don't eat that with bread. And basat tzli, roasted meat. Rabbi says to share to go ahead and you do eat it with bread. Rabbi Yosef the share to eat it because you eat it alone. You don't eat it with bread. So machlokas between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef and basat tzli, whether it's to enhance the bread or it's what sichalein to eat it alone. I'm Rabbi Yosef. I mean Allah says Rabbi Yosef. How do I know this? That it's alone. That in other words, it's a meichel by itself without enhancing bread. I said, why the hani parsoi, these Persians, achli tibaki, they eat tabaki, pieces of meat without bread. So you see that the roasted meat, I guess it's tabaki or some type of roasted meat, is zich alein. So therefore you need more of an amount than if it will be combined with bread to enhance the bread. Amalei Abayu parsoi havi Reuben alma. Are the Persians the Eruvin alma? But now they bring a sushtil that only the Gemara can bring. We've had this many times before. The base share to Mekabel Tuma of a beged. So an ani, it's 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois because it could be a patch. For an asher, it's 3 tfachim by 3 tfachim. But Tanan, big day aniyim laniyim, that's good for the ani, the 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois. Big day ashirim lashirim, the godim ashirim for ashirim. Big day ashirim laniyim loy, but big day ashirim for aniyim not. So therefore, the Persians, whatever they do, just like the share for the usher is not for the ani, so too the share of the Persians not for us. Look what we do, and we eat it with bread. We don't eat it alone. We don't eat sichalein. The chitem, you're going to say hachal chumra. That hachal chumra in both scenarios, going the chumra by tumah, you're going to go after the smaller share, and by Eruvin, you're going to go after the larger share to require you to put away more meat. Vatanya, Rabbi Shimon Elazar, Ma'arvin l'chaylo l'zaken kedei mizono. Depending upon the individual, if a person's sick or a person's old, they can't eat as much, you put away for them. So you see, you go lakula. Ulravasan besudas beinunis. And for a glutton, you still go after sudas beinunis shokoladam. And this guy can eat. You've all met people who can really put it away, right? The guy. The stories. The guy goes to the pizza store, takes the pie, and goes like this, and that's it. There's guys who do this. I'm serious. I went to a place that of blessed memory called Shmulka Bernstein's. Right? Again, before they closed it down for horse meat, and there was such a Aaron, you missed it. I'm telling you, there was such a place that you cannot. It was the place, and I went to the guy, and he had as the appetizer, he had 7 hot dogs. That was the appetizer, and he knocked it down with 2 black cherry sodas.
Not Frank the Blank.
No, fully loaded. Mit der Zibin Arup, right? Let me say good, yeah. Anyway, so that was anyway. So you have people. So this guy is a rabbi, and he's a very, very healthy fellow. And nonetheless, we don't go after what his sudas. We go after. So you see, it's the kula. So you can't say it's the chumah. You go the kula. So you must say nachinami. So it's shver on Rabbi Yosef. Says Rabbi Yosef, we're going after what? The Persians. You don't go after the Persians. Just like the Aniyim don't go after the Shi'im. We don't go after the Persians. Come on, it's kasha nachinami. When the Gemara says kasha, it means you zucha teretz, and it's not tiyufta. Tiyufta means you're out of the ballpark. Kasha means, okay, mishtatnis from a kasha, right? We used to say in Shiva. Mishtatnis from a kasha. Fred the Gemara, me, I'm Rabbi Shimon Elazar Hachi, that would go Lakula of Atanya, Rabbi Shimon Elazar Oimer, Oig Melech HaBashan. Okay, before we get to Oig Melech HaBashan, good. Halacha. You have a maces in a house. We know that the tumah permeates throughout the house. The oil on mace is throughout the house. Any kalim in the house. Now, let's say a doorway, and you have kalim in the doorways. Are they all tamei? Well, if you know which door you're going out, they're not all tamei, because they're not really in the house. They're in the lintel. So if you know you're going out that door, you're machshav to go out the door, then the kalim in that doorway will be tamei, and the other one's tar. If you don't know, then they'll all be tamei. So now, it says the Gemara regarding that halacha. It says pischai kimalayai. The Pesach is according to what? His size, says Rashi. Lahatzel al sharp sachim, to save all the kalim from tumah that reside in the other openings. The leka Pesach the chazilei, and if you don't have a Pesach that is appropriate for Oig Melech HaBashan, then kol chur mole egro shebekasolim tameim. Even the little holes in the walls are going to be tamei. So you see that what you go after the size of the individual, not like Lakula to go ahead and say a Raiva, Rav Son and a glutton, you're going to go and give him a little meat. Rabbi says, Rabbi Hassam, hey Chalav, what are you going to do? Hadume nadame v'nafik? Where are you going to go? You're going to cut Oig Melech HaBashan up to pieces and take him out the door? It makes sense that you're going to go out the door. It makes sense that you're going to go out the door that is it makes sense that you're going to go at that door. Fellas, guy is 8 feet tall and 5 feet wide. You got doorways, and the doorways you're going to have to expand. Some way you're going to have to expand these doorways, right? Let's say one doorway is 4, one's 3, one's 2. It makes sense to expand the 5. You don't have to go so much, right? So therefore, Masha'en came by food, we go after a normal person. What are you zustelling? It's zustelling that Reb Shimon Elazar says by doorways you're going to go after the person's size, and by food, by when he's a glutton, you're not. There's a difference. Which is going to be kaveya, an amount for food to establish an erev tchumim. It makes sense to go after a normal person, right? Masha'en came by. This is a physical thing. You have to get this corpse out the door. It makes sense to go out the door where you have to do the least amount of work. So says Reb Shimon Elazar, that's the door you're going to go out. So therefore, it's not shver. Iboilu. Pligi Rav Mana Leder of Shimon ben Elazar. Did he argue with Shimon ben Elazar? Or lo? Did he argue or not? Tashma. What? Tashma. The Amar Rabbi Barachana, Am Rabbi Yochanan, Oig Melech HaBashan. Again, when it says Oig, it just means, a larger than life individual. So with just an example. We're not speaking about Oig Melech HaBashan. Pischai be'arba. Right? The Pesach is what? With arba. What does that mean? Arba means 4 tefachim. Again, remember, in numbers, guys, always go after the opposite. Arba is amas. Arba'ah. Arba is tefachim. Arba is female, right? This is a good thing to know. You know, little hint. How do you know if it's tfachim or it's amis? Tfachim is male. If the number is female, then the noun is male. So when it says arba'ah, you remember this. You got it good. Arba'ah is female, so it must mean tfachim, which is male. Right? So female, male. So now, so Oimelach Habasha and Pischai is barba. So he argues, guys, right? He argues. He said Pischim loy that door, and he says no. He says 4. He says Hasam dikab sachim katanim tuva. They're less than that. Dikach chad havi arba. So lav dafka Rabbanan argue. He also says the same thing when it says 4 because everyone else is smaller than that. So therefore you're going to go at the door that way. You have the least amount of tuma. We said making the air tchumim, you can use basachai. Again, basachai, usually we have a Gemara that says sometimes you could swallow ba'umtza, the lashon ba'umtza. Usually ba'umtza means a little, you know, guys who like the meat like black and blue, they put it on, there's people, mamash eat it raw. They put, Avrami, what's it called? He's got his food. He went from the Kaisel to whole food. Avrami, what's it called when they just put it on
Tartar or carpaccio, either one.
Carpaccio?
Black and blue. Black and blue.
Black and blue, but that's the vernacular. What's the fancy word for it?
Tartar is raw.
Tartar?
Tartar is totally raw.
Okay, anyway, the people who eat meat like that still moves. Basically, you put the fork in it.
Carpaccio.
Okay. Go back to the picture. Now, says the Gemara. He has the kaisel there. Now he has a bunch of food on there. Oh, by the way, it's our 27th anniversary tonight, guys. 27 years. 27 years. We're finishing.
Mazel tov.
We're starting the 28th year, and the 4 original guys are still here.
Wow.
Benji, Heshi, Ari, and Dr. Ben, the 4 original guys. The shir started. I shared with Mechavusa today. The shir started. Let me just get the recording off. So today's the 28th anniversary, the 27th anniversary of that time. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay, Amr Rav Chia Barashvi, Amr Rav Ma'arvim B'Basachai. You can use Basachai. Amr Rav Sim Bar Chia Ma'arvim B'Beitzim Chayis. You can use raw eggs. The Kama, how much? Amr Rav Nachma Yitzchak. Sinai. That's Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef was Sinai. Right? There was Oikaharim, there was Sinai. It was Sinai. Amar Shtayim. He said 2 eggs. 2 eggs will do the job. So you can make an Erev Tchum out of 2 eggs. He said, Anoidim in Amazon, Mutter b'mayim v'melach. Okay, now the Mishnah described like very interesting things. Fellas, there's 2 things. There's something called a shvua and something called a neder. A shvua is where you yourself, it's called an issa gavra. In other words, I, Eliezer Stern, believe shvua can't sit in that chair. So I made the issa on myself. I am usher on the chair. If I would say the chair is usher to me, that's a neder. A neder is an issa cheftza. It's an issa on the object. So this is okay, which is important to know. Now, going back to our Mishnah on Chaf Vav Amud Aleph, we said B'chol ma'arvin mishtatfim chutz min hamayim and hamelach. We said you can't, and we had there a prat u'kalu prat to go ahead and exclude it. It's not peri, it's not guduliaris. It wasn't created on the 6th day. We had a whole limud, if you remember, Mitzvah Shabbos, to go ahead and exclude these things. We went ahead and segued into Ma'aser Sheni, whether you can spend your Ma'aser Sheni money on it, and then the Mishnah drops the following: Hanoidim min hamazayin muta b'mayim u'b'melach. If someone makes a neder from food, he's muta b'mayim. In other words, he's saying what? Pashtus, all food is usher on me. Now let's make a chilik between mazon and zon. Mazon means it satiates and gives me renewed strength. Zon means it just goes ahead and satiates. It's less of a madrega. Good? So with that in mind, let's see the sugya. Says the Gemara. Lamed Amud Aleph, 32 dots. Hanoidim in Amazayin mutter b'mayim b'melach, melach u'mayim hu d'lo ikri mazayin. Dafka melach u'mayim are not called food. Again, in the Havamina, he made a neder not to eat food. So therefore now, all foods are upon me. So melach u'mayim hu d'lo ikri mazayin. Hakol mili ikri mazayin. Everything else is called mazayin. Lema, let us say, Havitiyuf the Rabbi Shmuel, that our Mishnah, the Anoyim, argue on, it's a tuyufta, an upshlag on Rabbi Shmuel. The Rabbi Shmuel, Shavayu, Eimivorchim Bari Minim Mizoinais, Ella Al Chameshes Chaminim Bavad. The only thing that's called Mazain are the 5 minim. Pita, Saira, Kusemes, Shibal Shuel, and Shifai. So all these things are these are only the 5 grains. These 5 grains, nothing else. Says the Gemara, we already slugged them up. We slugged them up by rice. We had this Gemara and we said, we make a mizrainis on rice also. We slugged it up in case of mevarchim. So says the Gemara, what does it mean over here? In other words, it's a piling on. Not only was that an upslug, but by rice was an upslug, it's an upslug from here as well. Because you see there are other things, mashma, everything is done, not just those 5 things. Amrav Huna, but Oimer, it's not speaking where he said mazon, but Oimer kol hazon alai, right? Right? Kol hazon, anything that satiates alai. Mayim melech hudulay zaini, kol mini zaini. Mayim melech does not satiate, anything else satiates. Let's see Rashi. Let's see the chalukim between mazon and zon, guys. Let's see Rashi explains it. Okay, Ba'omer, it's speaking kol hazon alai. Masnisan, our Mishnah, the asale b'chol mili that said, then you're also on everything except Mayim Melach. Lav da amar yesa alai mazon. Not that he said that it should be also on me food. The vadai loy nikri mazon elahei minim. Those are only those 5 minim are called mazon. They have a min dagon, the zaina. A, it's zaina, it sustains, and B, v'sadei liba, it strengthens the body, guys. So in order to be zayin, these 2 things.
Such a thing, contract with the cancer body.
Yeah, again, you're saying it's a ned, not a shvu, not neder yes. Neder yes, and you'd be forced the guy to go ahead and be mataneda. Now, el kigoin, the omar, yes or so it's not, guys. So he didn't ask a mazon because mazon taka. The only thing that really, this is not much for the protein, guys. Now this is for the carbs. This is not for the Atkins diet or for the keto guys. This is carbs. You can all smile, right? The things that are zon are from the 5 grains, the carbs. So therefore, Rabbi, see that what it sustains and it strengthens the body. Ela kigoin, he didn't say that. What did he say? The Amar yeser alai kol hazon. It should be us upon me all things that zon. The mashma kol dava hamazbia. Anything that satiates. The chol mili zaini. Anything satiates. Guys, anything is capable of making you full. It may not give you renewed strength, like the 5 grains, but it's capable of making you full. If you eat enough celery, maybe not celery, spinach. If you eat enough of that stuff, you'll right? How would you know? You never ate that stuff. Yeah, you eat spinach? No.
Yeah.
Your mother's health nut?
No.
Okay, no. Health nut means the person who tries to get you healthy food. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. Anyway, maybe you feel guilty. The chol mili zayni chutz mi mayim umelach, except mayim umelach, avol misad le'sadi v'le mikri mazon. Okay, so therefore, change the gersa in the Mishnah. Don't learn he made a neder from food, like it was. Learn he made a neder from anything that satiates, and the only thing, so that includes everything. The only thing that doesn't satiate is mayim umelach. Says the Gemara, kol mili zayni. Now it segues into the Gemara, guys. Look at the Gemara. Amrav Huna. Fred the Gemara Vamar Rabba Rav Chana Kiev as Azilnu Basri the Rabbi Yochanan Lamechel Piri the Ginaiser. When we went after Rabbi Yochanan to eat the pears of Ginaiser. In the Shevet of Naphtali, we saw this in Masech the Brachas. There's a place called Ginaiser. It's supposed to have the most unbelievable pears in the world. If you look at the bracha that it says by Berchas Yaakov, it says Naphtali Ayola Shalucha. Naphtali is a quick deer. And Rashi brings the Paris of Genoiser, they ripen. It's like the most hush of a Paris in Eretz Yisrael. The Paris Genoiser. When we were 100, having matinul chol chad asara asara. Each one of us took 10. Having be asara when we were 10, having matinul chol chad chad meya. The bottom line, we got 1,000 years away. Meya, right? Meya. Meya b'chol meya minayu having master lutzina bastil sasavi. Each one of us held a basket that held 3 saw. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, I ate all of them. Right? He ate all of them. V'amar, and he said, he said, I'm not full. So you see that what? that not only is Mayim and Melach doesn't satiate, even Peres K'naisa doesn't satiate. So you're not limited. So he says, Ema Mizaina. He says it's a sustaining food. You know, he was full, but this food is not sustained, but he was full. Amravun Amarav. Shvua, a person makes a shvua. Again, shvua and a neder. Shvua is on the gavra, neder is on the chefza. Guys, difference between the lashon harezu and hare alai. Alai will be much everything, all hana, not just eating. Zu is mashma, only eating. Good. Guys, again, one more time. Harezu, zu is mashma, a buzzword for eating. Alai, buzzword for hana. No benefit whatsoever. So, Amravun Amarav. Shvua shloi oichel kika zu. If I make a shvua not to eat this loaf of bread, marvin loy, but you could go ahead and use it. You can go ahead and use it for an Erev. Why? Because you said, I'm not going to eat it. But you don't have to eat it. V'araya, a nazir can make yayin. A non-koyin can use truma. In other words, you don't have to eat it. It just has to be Muslim, shtei sudas. So you can't eat this because of an Issa Shua that you threw on yourself does not impede you from using it as an Erev. So Kika Zu Alai, now, Kika Zu Alai, Lashon Alai, that means no Hana. Zu alone is Mashma what? Echila. Alai already is Mashma Hana. Eima Arvin Loi. Hana, you can't have enough from it. So Eima Arvin Laba, right? You can't have enough from it because again, what does nobody have? He's extending his tchum. Guys, what's the purpose of Eretz Chumim? To allow you to walk 2,000 amas more than normal. So you would be having hana from this food because you're extending your Eruvin, which is your tchum, which is exactly what you want to do. Since you said Harizu alai, therefore I won't be able to use this one as an Eruv. Any type of hana. Any type of hana. Mesebe hanoidim min hakikor. Ma'arvin laba, if someone makes a neder not to use water kikor, ma'arvin laba, my lav da'amar alai, and nonetheless you could use it. You see a lie, even if it's asa b'hana, you could use it. It says alai da'amar zu, only achila. So when could you use it? Achila, but hana not. Hachanami mistarba to say that's the pshat. Diktani seifa, we learned the seifa of that brisa. Emasai, when do we say that you can't? It can ma'arvin bisman shama shvua shlei etamena. Assure that what I won't taste from it, then you could use it as an Erev. Aval Omer alai. No, however, diak. Aval Omer alai mai hachanami deima arvin laba. So guys, the Reisha says the following: if we will view the safest, when do we say that you could use this as an Erev? When you made sure that you won't go ahead and taste it. But had you said alai, then you won't be able to. Good. Now, remember I've told you many times. The Torah will only go ahead, the Mishnah will only go ahead and bring a new case for a Chiddush if it couldn't hear the Chiddush in the previous case. If I could hear everything from clause number 1, you're not bringing in clause number 2. So from clause number 1, I can hear the following. If I make a shvua not to taste something, I can make an error with it. Mashma, but if I made a shvua that to aspirate it on myself, I could not. Good? So then why do I need the next case, which is going to say, I can't use it. Why? I could have heard it from the first case. Says the Gemara. Okay. Again, that's a different shmuz. Says the Gemara. Ihachi. If you're telling me that from the first clause you would hear a lie, that if it's asa b'hana, you can use it. Adetani, when you learn kikar zu hegdish, this kikar is hegdish. Hegdish is the most severe isra hana, guys, right? Hegdish is the most severe isra hana. Kikazu hegdish, aim arvin laba. You can't go ahead and use it for an Erev. Why? If you should aim arvin megdeshais. Mashma, the reason why you can't use this shtick, it's because it's hegdish, correct? Mashma fellas, all chulin, you would be able to use, even if you said the lashon of a lie. Lift now. Why? If you're telling me a lie is usher, lift lug v'lisni b'dida. Tell me this chilik in clause number 1 by chulin. When do you say you could use it for an erev? If you said harei zu, when can't you use it? When you say harei alai, even if it's not hegdish. So why would I have to bring in the second case? It must be because harei alai by chulin you could use as an erev, which is kasha and Rav Huna, who said you can't. Was that like a fastball in the outside corner? What? Curveball? Okay, one more time. Let's do it one more time. Let's keep the cheshbon. One more time, the cheshbon. We never will tell you the Gemara. If the Gemara can tell you a chiddush in one case, it won't be in a new case. So here's Rav Huna's chiddush. Harezu, this asa, achila, erev. Hare alai, hana, no erev. That's Rav Huna's and Amoira. We find a brisa that says that if you make a shvua not to taste from something, you could use it as an erev. Mashma, taste, yeah, but hana, not. Good. If hana, not, so 1 second. So then why do you have to bring me the case of hegdish? By hegdish, we said then you can't use it. Why do you need a hegdish? I have a case by chulin that you can't use it. A lie. Ella must be a lie by chulin. You could use it. Kasha Rav Huna. But that's the kasha. Okay. There's the Gemara inside. How do we answer this up? Amalach Rav Huna elamai. What are you going to tell me? Kol hechad da'amar alai ma'arvin. Then kasha reisha. You're going to tell me every time you say a lie, you could say it. Then it's shver the reisha. What did the reisha say? Amasai in the time when what? Guys, look at the line number, Gemara in line number 3 where it gets wide. Amasai bisman shamash shvua shleiyat amena. Then you could use this as an erev. Aval omer alai mai not. Correct? In other words, we have a Mefurish Brisa saying if you say I can't taste it, then you could. Mashma if it's asabah, no, you can't. So in other words, you're asking a kasher upon me. I got some tanoic backing. I got the inference from the Reisha. The Reisha's mashma alai doesn't work. Says the Gemara, you're right. So it says the Gemara, trying to avoid this problem, we'll say this price is missing words. We'll tweak it with some words and things will work out. Let's see. How are we tweaking? The price is missing words. Someone makes a nether from not to have enough, not to eat a piece of bread. Now, here's the tweaking. And even if he says kika zu alai, not kika zu, he says kika zu alai. Even if he says that, Nasa will view it as if he said a shvua that I won't taste from it, right? So therefore, now it's good. So alai does work. Alai. So in other words, we will view if he says and even if he says alai, we'll view it that way, and therefore it's only by hegdish not. Rav Huna didn't answer the question, guys. We answered the brisa. He didn't answer the question. He said a lie doesn't work. Guys, look at me. Listen what you just did. We had a problem from a brisa. The words didn't work. Why didn't the words work? Because you just said, if I make a shvua not to taste something, I could go ahead and use that as an erev. Mashma, if I made a shvua a lie, I can't. Good? So that's shver and Rav Huna. Says Rav Huna. So, it's shver and Rav Huna, but again, it's shver and you to brisa, because you brought a case of hegdish afterwards. Why did you bring a case of hegdish afterwards if you inferred a lie from the Reisha? So we're answering that kasha. We're answering. What are we answering? That if you make a shvua shleiyat mena, it's as if you said harei alai. So I answered that up, and therefore harei alai by chulin would work, meaning you can use it as an erev. When can't you use an erev? Hegdish. Mikol makom. What did Rav Huna say? A lie you can't use as what? As a erev. So Rav Huna is shver. Rav Huna is shver. Mikol makom is shver on Rav Huna. Mikol makom kashel Rav Huna. And for the Gemara, this price does not work out according to Rav Huna. What? The only way to save face? Find the Tana that holds like you. The way to work out, find the Tana that holds like you. If you find the Tana that holds on you, you got it made. Who says the Gemara? Who don't make Rebbe Eliezer? The Tanya, Rebbe Eliezer shvua shle'achol kikazu. If you make a shvua not to eat this kikar, ma'arvin laba. Again, you just said kikazu, no alai. Kikazu alai, aim ma'arvin laba. There you go, guys. There you go. There's Rav Huna's lashon, guys. Kikazu alai. This kika is us upon me and law. Ain ma'arvin ba. That's exactly what Rav Huna said. You're right. The brisa that you brought is shver, because it's mashma only the case of hegdish is it asa. But a lie by chulin works. I got a Tana who says like me, Rabbi Eliezer. He says openly, Zu you could make an erev. A lie you can't make an erev. Masa kidmash. The Rav Huna holds like Rabbi Eliezer. Fred the Gemara just the question of Rabbi Eliezer. Umi Rabbi Eliezer hachi. In other words, we answered Rav Huna. We answered Rav Huna. He holds like Rabbi Eliezer. When we have a question, does Rabbi Eliezer really say that? Umi Rabbi Eliezer hachi. Does Rabbi Eliezer really say that? Tanya Zak Klal. Adam oiser atzmai ba'oichel. If a person asks himself on the food, he makes a shvua, he's also on the food. Then ma'arvin laba. Oichel and nesa loyla adam. Oichel an oichel that becomes an essence adam. Ein ma'arvin ba. Revelez oime kikazu alai ma'arvin loy ba. There's your kasha, guys. Kikazu alai ma'arvin loy. That's a kasha. He just said ein ma'arvin. Now he's saying kikazu ma'arvin. He says himself minei ubei. Kikazu hegdish ein ma'arvin laba. If you say ma'arvin ba hegdishis. And for the Gemara, how do you answer this apparent contradiction, Rabbi Eliezer? Trey Tanoi Rabbi Eliezer. You got two Tanoim according to Rabbi Eliezer. So what have we seen so far this evening? We saw that you can go ahead and use eggs, raw eggs. You can use raw meat. And if you lose the Lashon Havari Alai, according to Harizu, even though it's asa to you to eat, you could use it as an Erev. Rav Huna wants to say that if you say Lashon Alai, you will not be able to use it as an Erev. And it comes out, it's Machlokes Tanoim, whether Harizu Alai by Chulin would be us or not. According to the Tana, first price or not. According to Rabbi Eliezer, yes. And according to everyone, Hegdish, you could not go ahead and use Hegdish, right? Okay. Says the Gemara. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah. Let's go back to the Mishnah and see what exactly what. Mishnah again, Chafav Amid Beis. Chafav Amid Beis. Me'arvin l'naza biyayin. One is permitted to go ahead and make, even though the nazir is not able to drink wine, you could make, for the nazir, you can make an erev tchumim. Why? Because even though he can't eat it, he can't, others could. That's the Gemara we just said. Harezu, I can't eat this kikar, but you could. In other words, the fact that it's usher, to me, does not passel it to be an erev. It's a foodstuff. However, Uli Yisrael b'truma, a non-koyin, a zar cannot eat truma, yet he could use it as his to kona shvisa to acquire that area by Muslim shtei sudas, despite the fact he can't eat it. Now, sumchis oimer b'chulin says sumchis by chulin, but not by truma. But he doesn't argue by nazir. What's the difference? Sumchis that he agrees by nazir that you could use it, but he disagrees by truma that you can't. In both cases, apparently, it's right to somebody. By nazir, the yain is right to anybody, and by a truma, it's right to a kohen. So why doesn't Simchas argue by yain as just the same he argues by truma? It's a very, very good kasha. Let's go. Says the Gemara, yes. Masnisan like Beishamai. I miss is not like Beishamai. The tiny Beishamai Yomrim. Aim Arvin l'nazir b'yayin. You cannot go ahead and make an erev tchumim for a yayin v'nazir of Yisrael b'truma. Beisil Yomrim ma'arvin l'nazir b'yayin Yisrael b'truma. So Pashtus Beishamai needs not that it's right for someone to eat it. Beishamai needs it right for you to eat it. Beishamai needs it's right for you to eat it. That you should be able to eat it. Amalem Beisil Beishamai iyat moedim amid beis. Are you not moedeh? Shema Arvin Legadol B'Yom Kippurim. Now, let's say a guy Yom Kippur wants to hear someone's Nila, the face. Yosel Rosenblatt of blessed memory. Remember Yosel Rosenblatt? Guy must be the most famous cousin. He's dead 100 years. Come on, 100 years. Yosel Rosenblatt, I think, died in late 20s. Ich mean, somebody, again, it's not that important. But he died, and yet people know who he is. I mean, I know who he is. I hate chazanas. Really. Right? Baruch loves chazanas. Yeah. Baruch loves chazanas.
Those are finished by 9.
Chazanas, you finished by 9. And and you started at 8:30. Yeah, okay, anyway. So.
That's what I remember.
Ash? I'm sorry, he died in 1933. Okay, anyway. I saw his grave. Yeah, I saw his grave. He was Nifner Eretz Yisrael. I don't know if he's from, but I think he was. I think it was I think there were Chazanim that weren't. There's stories about Chazanim they walked out and went into a car. No, he was a very wealthy man, but they stole his money. They stole his money. He was making a fortune in those days.
Rabbi, one of them asked him, how come they pay you so much money? I'm a chazan, I don't get so much money. He said, by me, they pay for the Shlish Shmoneh Esrei also.
Pay for the shloshim. That's how good he was, huh? Okay, very good. Anyway. I have no idea. Anyway, Shem Arvin L'Kadl B'Yom Kippurim. Now, on Yom Kippur, obviously, so I got into this because we were walking to see Yasla Rosenblatt. Now, so we're walking along, and you want to extend, you're able to go ahead, Bein Hashmashas. Guys, the Erev Tchumim is Kona Bein Hashmashas. That's when it works. So you have to be there, or your food has to be there, Bein Hashmashas. Now, Bein Hashmashas, you're not eating this stuff, right? But yet you're kind on Yom Kippur. Good. Why? Because a kid could eat it. So that's what Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai. You tell me a Nazanat, you tell me a Trumanat. What about a Gadol? A Gadol, regular Yid, you might do that. What? A kid could eat it. So Amalehem, they told Beis Hillel, Avol, it's true. So Amalehem, Kishemsha, said Beis Hillel to Beis Shammai, Kishemsha ma'arvin l'Gadol b'Yom Kippurim, came ma'arvin l'Nazir b'Yayin l'Yisrael b'Truma. What's the difference? Just like the Gadol Yom Kippur works, the Nazir Yayin, the Truma for the non-Kohen should work. But Beis Shammai makes the fillet. Hasam ikasuda roy miboyoim. That food is roy miboyoim. Good, he can't eat it, but it's roy miboyoim. Vashenkin hacha by the Truma and by the Nazir, lekasuda roy miboyoim. It's not roy, so it's not a good sushta. Kiman. Who does this not go like? The like Chananya, not like Chananya. Who's Chananya? Chananya holds, guys. Beis Shammai says you can make an Erev Tchumim at all. Over here, clearly, we're saying Beis Shammai says you can make a Erev Tchumim with Yayin for a Nazir or Truma for a non-Kohen, but you could make an Erev Tchumim with right food. Chananya says Beis Shammai holds you can make an Erev Tchumim at all. Right? That's what it says. Command loike Chananya, the Tanya Chananya Oimer, Kol Atzman Shel Beis Shammai Lahoya Moedim Be'erev. They weren't Moed Be'erev at Sheyotzei until when? Mitasai the Chol Kli Tashmishay L'Sham. So it doesn't mean you can't make it at all, but you ain't gonna work with two sudas. You got to bring the kitchen sink. You got to bring guys. You got to bring You got to bring your bed, and you got to bring all your kalim. You got to bring the kalim tashmisha, your clothing, right? Your CPAP machine if you have the sleep apnea. You got to bring the whole kit and caboodle, right? Everything's got to go there. It's got to go. So now, obviously, where Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, they're arguing just vis-a-vis food, they obviously does not hold like Hananya. Because Hananya said, food ain't going to do the job. You need more. Now, Kaman Ozla Detanya, Erev B'Shchayrim L'Yotze B'Leveinim, if you went ahead and walked there in black clothing, right? In other words, you weren't Saimich on food. You were kind of Shvisa with your own physical presence. And you walked in black clothing, you then can't go out in white clothing. You have to go out in black clothing. B'Leveinim, white clothing, L'Yotze B'Shchayrim. Kaman, who's that like? Amr of Nachem Yitzchak, Chananyahi. It's Chananya, Aliba de Beis Shammai. It's Chananya according to Beis Shammai. In other words, how in the world could you go ahead? You'd have to have everything there. In other words, mashma like this. You have black, you can't go home and switch for white. White, switch to black. Again, you need everything. According to Chananya, you would need everything over there. You want in the place. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, "Kol kli tashmishay mashma dili ofi kol sarchi tashmish." If not everything's there, like how erev l'didei, it's not an erev. So he's asking, you won't be able to go out, guys. If you had to go back home to get your white clothing, that means your white clothing wasn't in the place of kind of shvisa, but it had to be there for it to work. In other words, let's say the following: you own three items. You own a white suit, a black suit, and a Buick Century. Three things. You bought your Buick Century, you bought your white suit, you left your black suit at home. Loit Chananya in Beis Shammai, you're not kind of shvisa. Why? Because you need kol kli tashmisa. You didn't have the black suit there. It wasn't there. So that's what the Gemara is saying now. Let's see it inside. Come on, Azla the Tanya, Erev Shchayrim. If you make an Erev with black, lo yotze b'leveinim. Right? You won't be yotze with leveinim. B'leveinim, white clothing, lo yotze b'shchayrim. Kiman, Amrav Nachem Yitzchak Hananihi, who requires clothing, not just food. Fa'aliv Beis Shammai. Fred the Gemara, will Hananya b'shchayrim, right? By Hananya, would it work? Right? Would it work? Had la yotza. B'shchayrim hud la yotza. Ha b'leveinim yotza. But leveinim you would be yotza. How could that be? Right? He says, "At sheyotze mitasoi ukli tashmishay." Says the one Hachi Kamar. Erev bilvenim v'hutzich l'shchoirim. If you made an erev with levanim and you need black, af bilvein layatza, then you wouldn't because you don't have a good erev. Kiman, amam nachma yitza chanan yehiv. I'll leave it by Shammai. In other words, if you made it with again in my scenario, you have the three things, right? And you need one, and it's not there, then you don't have a good erev. Sumchis ama b'chulin said Sumchis. Sumchis seemed to agree by Nazir guys and disagree only by chulin. He seemed to agree by Nazir and disagree by chulin. Sumchis ama b'chulin. The ilu Nazir b'yayin like palik. Regarding Nazir, it seems Sumchis said that a Nazir could go ahead and be kind of shvisa. He could acquire his erev tchumim with using wine. What's the difference? A non-Jew, a non-kohen can't eat truma, and a Nazir can't drink wine. So what's the difference? My timer. So he goes by Nazir efsha the mitchell and his ruse. It's possible for him to go to a mutalach, right? Right, get ready, practice up. It's coming up, right? It could do a Torah Nadarim. It could be Matis Neder. Guys, Ish Kiyafli Linda Neder Nazir Lahasal Hashem. How do you become a Nazir? By expressing a Neder. A Naziris is a Neder. So therefore, it's possible to be shoyal on the Neder. So therefore, the food is considered as if what? It's yours, you can eat it. So since it's possible. So now by Truma, tasteless Truma, that's not possible. Yihachi, Truma Nami Efsha de Mitchell. I just want to make something Truma. You made a neder. You separated and say this is truma, this is truma. So the same way, say it's not truma. You cannot truma it, right? You know that. Sure, you could. You could even shal behegdish. You could even be shal behegdish. Hegdish too, right? You can be shal behegdish also. Yeah. Anything that can be expressed by neder can be taken off, with the exception of a neder that's hudeh berabim. A neder hudeh al das rabim can't be taken off. I just said it is. It is. You can be shal and hegdish. Yeah.
You have to replace it with something else.
Again, do you make a neder or a nedava? Again, it depends. It'll be a neder or a nedava. Right? So harei olai, right? So you would go. You didn't fulfill your neder. Harei olai. So let's say it's upon your hegdish, right? So I make animal a hegdish. Good. If you're shoyal, you still have the neder on yourself. It's not pshat shimon. You have to replace the hegdish. Pshat is you have to fulfill your neder. So by saying harei olai, you didn't fulfill it. Why? Because you were shoyal on that first object. You need another object to fulfill what you said. It's not the hegdish tikadin. It's the olai. That's upon yourself.
That's the same thing with truma. You can say, I don't want this apple to be truma. I want this apple to be.
So now, here's the problem. Let's say you're shoyal on truma. What does it become? Oish truma. What's something oish truma called? Tevel. Still can't eat it. In other words, by Nazir, if I go ahead and I'm shoyal on the Naziris, what does it do? It permits me to drink the wine. Conversely, what happens if I take off truma? So what is it? It goes back to it being a state of untied food, which is called tevel. Tevel is asabano. You can't. It's asa. You can't eat it. So you didn't gain anything, guys. You didn't gain anything.
Anyone eat tevel?
What? No one can eat tevel. Not even the kohen. No one can eat tevel. So now says the Gemara, Ihachi truma nami efsha de mishal avei. Truma also you could take off the truma. Says the Gemara, I mishal Allah hajul tivla. If you're shayal on it, it goes back to being tevel, and your vita can't eat it, so your vita have the same problem of what being kind of shvisa. Lift b'shalom imakam acher. Oh, 1 second, no. I have an eitzah. Good. This is tevel. So I say the following. You know, I got a silo on the other side of town. That the truma that's in this should be in the other side of town, and therefore you could do that. It's called toirim shaloi min amokif. You could take off truma from another place. You know, you have warehouse A and warehouse B. You can say the truma in warehouse A is in warehouse B, and therefore, so very good, you could eat it. Fred the Gemara, so I have an eitzah. And for the Gemara, loinechshedu chaverim litram shlei min amokif. Chaverim, they don't go ahead and be toirim shlei min amokif. We'll meet this a little bit later on. In other words, an el chiyid tutnishtat. An el chiyid takes off truma from that spot, right? He takes it from the spot. He doesn't take off shlei min amokif from something that wasn't there. He takes off min amokif. Says the Gemara. So why don't we take off from it itself? Guys, what's the kasha? Guys, look at me. What's the kasha? By Naziris, when I go ahead and take off the shame Naziris, then I'm not a Nazir anymore, immediately I can drink this wine. Therefore, says Sumchis, that could be used for an Erev Tchumen. So by Truma, he says it has to be Chulin, because there is no way that this Truma can be eaten. The Gemara now is analyzing, what do you mean? Maybe I can come up a way that this Truma that's in front of me, I could eat. Good? So the first attempt was take off the shame Truma. What was the answer? You didn't get anything. It's Tevel. And for the Gemara, so take it off in another place. And therefore you can eat the stuff that's here now, where you're kind of Shrisa. What's the answer? An Erlachiyah Tutnish Azor. He doesn't go ahead and take off another place. Good? So why don't you just separate from right now? Whatever I have in front of me right now, separate Truma from that, and now I'll have a Muslim Shtei right? What's the answer? You don't have enough. Guys, you only have Muslim Shtei to begin with. If you go ahead and you take off Truma, you won't have Muslim Shtei Shmak. In other words, you've exhausted, Sumchas has exhausted any possible way to go ahead and figure this out, right? Shmak. Says the Gemara.
The Gemara is saying it's a b'di'evet, in other words, so you're not a moral.
Again, why? What? Again, we're speaking about an El Chiyud. We're speaking about, in other words, can you do it? But again, if it's not the right thing to do, we're not going to do it. Not the right thing to do, we're not going to do it. Now, says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, the less big shura. Guys, you only have Muslim Shudas, right? You need two. You need Muslim two Sudas. If you're going to separate, you're not going to have it. Fred the Gemara, my Pascha, says Rashi, my Pascha, bit me up, climber, my high tirutza. What kind of terrace? Fetch the terrace is this? He Pascha Tanel Milsa. Well, the Tana states something. Then other Meisim Eruvin elabit simsum. Did not get stabbed in Milsa Hachi. Fellas, could you leave more than Mazon Shtei Sudos? Meaning Sumchis only works out if you left exactly Mazon Shtei Sudos. What kind of psak is that? An ukimta where in a scenario where you left exactly Mazon Shtei Sudos and it's Truma, says Sumchis it doesn't work. What kind of psak is that? And if you left more than Mazon Shtei Sudos, you would be able to go in and separate Truma, and it should work. So the psak of Sumchis doesn't fit well because you're limiting it to a very, very thin ukimta. Says, well, my paska. Ella, so guys, so we need a duff reason. Guys, so back to first base. What's Akasha? What's the difference between Naziris and Truma? Now, Naziris, we seem to have come up with a very, very good reason why Sumchis says that what? That since you could be shoyl, you could eat it. We're still looking, why does he disagree by Truma? We were not successful with what we just went through. We weren't successful. So now we're going to try another avenue. Elasumchis sabla krabanon, the Amar kol davashu mishum shvus, gazu alav ben hashmashas. Anything that's asa b'derabanon, we're goyza ben hashmashas. In other words, you really could separate normally if you had time, but it's ben hashmashas, and it's asa to go ahead and separate truma ben hashmashas. Therefore, you can't do it.
You can be shown nether?
Yes, yeah, that you could. Again, shol net is the raisa. Taking from net is the raisa. This is the rabbanan. Kiman oz lahadit nan yesh. Ben hashmashas again. This machloikis, what ben hashmashas is, and then this machloikis whether shvus you could take off. So now this works well. In other words, you should, let's say it's more than Mazon Shtei Sudas, correct? The truma is, you have 3 Sudas there. Plenty of truma to take off. But you can't. Why? Because you can't take off truma on Shabbos. It's matik and mana, right? We learned that. And it's ben hashmashas. So you can't do it. So that's Sumchis. Now, we have a Mishnah in Kalim. Yesha Omru Hakol Lefi Mashahu Adam. Of any Mashu. In other words, we're going to go specifically based upon the individual. So, for example, Adam, a person, when it comes to taking the komritz from a mincha, it's molei kamtzai. Guys, it's whatever you fit in over here. if the kohen has a larger hand, you can have more of a kaimitz. If the kohen has a smaller hand, you can have less of a kaimitz. Malei chafna k'tairis. The k'tairis is malei chafna, right? The kohen puts his hands together. That's the k'tairis every day. If a bigger kohen, bigger hands, bigger, right? What's the share of Yom Kippur of drinking? A cheekful. Guys, some people have bigger cheeks than others, right? And mazon shtei sudas la'erev, meaning depending upon the individual. So this would not be like we saw in the Yom Aleph, right? Like not like Shimon Laza. Kiman Amar Zera Sumchasi. That's it's going to Sumchas. Amar my dechazi le'be'inyan. You need what is chazi. So just like you need that to be able to eat the truma, and you can't. That so too over here. Whatever this individual, whatever his size is, this is what it's going to be. According to this is what it's going to be. This is Sumchas then. Rashi says, Yesh sha'amru, yesh dvarim sha'amru shi'urim lefi mashu adam. Shi'urim according to the individual. The ain't shurim shav mekol, they're not equal. So this would be Sumchas who says, my dechazi le'be'inyan, needs something that is seen to them. So relative to the individual, this is what is seen to the individual. Relative to the individual. Lema pligi ad Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Guys, we said Reb Shimon is on the Yom Aleph with the old people. That nan Tanya Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer ma'arvin l'choyle l'zaken kedei mizono u'ravasan besudas beinin shel kol adam. Now l'chayra, according to Reb Shimon, according to Simchas, how much you'd have to give my guys 8 hot dogs as a vorspeise, right? Because again, he's saying you go according to the individual. So you have to give him that. Same thing. Says the Gemara, Tirgama, that Reb Shimon ben Elazar was only going on Choyle b'zaken. He was going on Choyle b'zaken. But that they would tell you the share of person is only going Choyle and zaken, because then it's relative to the individual, right? If he's a zaken, he can only eat the extra amount, right? Only extra amount. Aval Rabson, bottle daitel eitz kol adam. By a Rabson, a person who's a glutton, we're bottle daitel eitz kol adam. Okay. Thank you for listening, everyone for coming. We have a minion.
Thank you.